All right, Shanda, thanks for being on my show today.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to have you. Now tell me about yourself and your background and how long you've been helping people.
So I've been helping people. Well, I had this spiritual awakening in my late 20s, and I really started getting into coaching and healing and using art to heal. And through my own journey with love, that became so important to me that I just naturally started talking about chronicling my dating journey. So about 5 years ago, I moved to San Francisco Bay Area, and I was having this terrible time dating. Like, I usually can date like no one's business in my life, but I was there in the Bay Area and I couldn't date no matter what. And I did every kind of dating service and online and I just nothing. So I decided, okay, I got to figure this out. I was about 2 or 3 years almost virtually dateless. And then I said, you know what, I'm moving to LA, so let me just use all my spiritual training and the knowledge that I had, and I can do this. So when I moved to LA, I totally just made like this 9-step program, like just 9 steps of how I'm gonna get to dating. And it just changed my life. I was going on like 3 and 4 dates a week with like men that I found very attractive. And then I started to even up the ante, so to speak, and I would make this list of this lavish things to do, and people start taking me out and doing it. I would even share the list with them.
Wow.
And they would pick the thing they wanted to do, and they would start taking me out. And then one time I started blogging and chronicling this online, and people were attracted to me and started sending me messages and asking me to coach them, asking me to help them. And I started blogging about it, and then I started to get a little bit of a following. And then some men, a couple men started having like a little backlash. And one man told me, well, yeah, a man will have sex with anyone, so you know, you're not doing anything special. So
whoa.
Then I was like hurt, but then I said, maybe he's right. So then I took sex off the table, and I said, telling every guy, you know, I'm not having sex outside of a commitment. And I would tell every guy that I'm dating the other guys, and I was still getting taken out.
Okay.
And I was still getting
boom to
taken
him.
out on those lavish dates. I mean, I was dating men for like months, and they would with no physical anything, and they would still take me out.
So the social experiment was actually working well.
Yes.
And well.
So from that was kind of born my coaching business.
Wow. Through your own personal, you know, dealings with dating, then you transitioned, and now look at you. So you title yourself as a relationship coach?
Well, I do a spiritual life coach, and I specialize in relationships and so authentic purpose.
Okay. Oh, I like it.
Yes.
So in your own words, how do you describe the phrase love without losing yourself?
Well, for me, love without losing yourself is actually being able to love as a whole person and being able to stay connected to your inner truth and connected to source and connected to that so authentic purpose, because we all come here with our own unique purpose.
Absolutely.
And one of the purposes of meeting a soulmate, because I believe in soulmates, and you can have many different soulmates and they have different purposes in your life. But one of the reasons for meeting and matching up with a soulmate is to help each other with your purpose. So that means that I have to be connected and stay in alignment with my own purpose, and that is not losing myself in someone else, that I'm so into their purpose or their focus or their dreams that I forget about my own.
I love it. Absolutely. And it's so true. Not to lose sight of, you know, what you want, and for the sake of the other person.
Yes.
So I couldn't agree more. Now, when in a relationship, it's pretty instinctive to put the needs of others before your own. Can you talk about the drawbacks of putting ourselves last more often than not?
Well, I don't, you know, this is like how we were socialized. And, you know, a lot of things coming up right now, and this rise of the feminine, and we're realizing how much of our society is masculine dominated and this patriarchy. So a lot of that has come from that type of conditioning, and that's necessarily not true. And what I teach in my coaching practice is that the way my hierarchy goes for an empowered woman is, first, it should be you and your creator, and you and God. Next should be you and you. After that should be you and your divine life partner. Next should be you and your children. And then after that should be you and your family of origin or your friends. And then that hierarchy really supports you in staying in alignment with what your true purpose is and actually coming to your relationships whole. So it's not meant for you to put someone before yourself. It is meant for you to be at that same kind of corresponding and supplementing that with someone else, so you can create this beautiful relationship and not at the sacrifice of yourself.
Beautiful words. And something that sticks out to me is feeling whole, and not really, healing from certain experiences, and then you jump into a new relationship, and then you're relying on that person to fix all of that sometimes, So I know a lot of women in general, people in general, struggle with that.
Yeah, they do, and I think a lot of people don't really know who they are, and it's it's cliche, but it's so true. And who you are changes. So like even me, like I have my hair like shaved now, and if you met me when I was in my late 20s, I would tell you I would never wear my hair like this. So I used to have really, really long hair, and at some point I used to have straight hair, and I would tell you I would never wear my hair relaxed, and different things that I like, and the different things that I do now, I would, at 18, I have guessed that I would have been this person. So sometimes you can't even stay just stagnant with your own view of yourself.
Right.
It constantly changes and grows. So it's just about being in alignment moment to moment and day to day, and being in that truth with yourself as it changes and as you grow.
Especially since we're continually evolving, like you're saying,
Yes.
like something you were interested in doing 15 years ago is completely different. Something you do now, you may not do in 5 years.
And you can change your mind. And I noticed that even when I started my spiritual journey, and I had this moment when I was in my late 20s, and I was just going around telling everyone, like, this is what God is, this is what it means to be spiritual, X, Y, Z, you got to do this. And then now some of those things I believed, I don't really believe anymore. And I'm surprised. So it's okay to also change your mind.
It's
And
okay
I
to
can
change
just
your
tell
mind.
people that the only thing you will know is true is now, what I'm telling you today.
Right.
And as long as I'm in alignment with that, whoever I'm with will be in that same frequency and vibration with me.
Awesome. I love that. I love it. How can a person avoid the fears left from past relationships turning into issues in current ones or relationships as we pursue them? And I know you touched on this already, but how can, especially for people that have trouble letting go, how can they?
Well, basically you have to deal with, so what I devised is like this I developed this method called Radical Love Method, and it takes you through the steps. And I love radical as like a double entendre. So radical means to be different and do a different way, to think a different way.
Right.
And when I was doing my dating coaching, I would say date different. So a lot of things I would get people outside of races, outside of socioeconomic status. What you think you should date sometimes needs to change, so you can broaden that and get the real person that you need. And so with this, I feel like it's the same thing. So do it different way, but then also radical means root, if you look at the etymology of it. And so I like to go back to the source. And for me, in everything in relationship, your first love of your life was your parents or your primary caretaker. And that is where whatever your perceptions are of love have developed. Whatever your fears are of love, that's where they started. That is the root and that is the source. So in order to go forward and move forward in your relationships, you have to look at that past relationship. And it's difficult to do it on your own because you have a blind spot. So a lot of times I will always get a coach, get a therapist, and then don't just get a therapist or a coach, but I specialize in attachment theory.
Oh, I like that.
Get a coach or a therapist who understands attachment theory and that the psychology of relationships and the brain science of relationships. And then that way you can go and you can heal. And there's basically 3 to 4 different types that people are. So when you find out your type, then I'll tell you what your triggers are. It'll tell you what your fears are. It'll tell you what you need. It'll tell you how you communicate and how you sometimes perceive other people. And it'll tell you who you can't date, because that'll always end in an unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship. So for me, for anyone looking to avoid that, is get to know thyself, meaning know your relationship style or your love style, know your triggers, know that source fear and those source love wounds that you had in your childhood, acknowledge them, heal them, accept them.
Absolutely. And
then you
also
can move
don't
forward.
limit yourself. Like you said,
Yes.
step outside of your box, step outside of your comfort zone, date differently. So I
Yeah.
really like that. And I think a lot of people could benefit from dating different, dating outside of your race, dating outside of you know, socioeconomic status.
Yes.
It makes a big difference.
And also too with dating, what people don't really understand is that chemistry is not what you should go for. So this is hard, especially for the males, but chemistry is not what you go for. So chemistry is interesting. You have chemistry in two ways. So chemistry is also just a primitive, you looking at your current surroundings and picking the best person for you to procreate or produce or move forward.
Right.
That's just very animalistic and primitive. And then you have another chemistry. So your brain and subconscious, whenever you recognize familiarity, it has chemistry with. So that's where you'll notice if women love bad boys and they can't stop liking that boy, and then a nice boy they feel nothing with, and people think, oh, there's something wrong with them, they need to grow up. But this is real. They really don't feel anything physical for that person, because the brain, when it sees that person that it knows, it fires that up for you. So you're
attracted and drawn
to the wrong person. So you cannot choose, and the same thing with men. You cannot choose your mate based on chemistry alone. And this is an interesting thing. The brain, if you change it and like coax it, it will change the chemistry. So you have to almost, in a sense, nudge it to not feel chemistry for that type of person and start to feel chemistry for someone else.
I want to thank you so much for talking to me today. You're so knowledgeable. Please, how can everyone stay in contact with you if they have more questions or want to use your services?
Yes, so you can find me at my online home, which is www.shandacatrice.com. And if you want to find out your love style, you can just take my love style quiz and find out your love style so you can understand how you perceive and express love.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today, and hope to have you back one day soon. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.